Big thanks to Bai for sponsoring this video. Check them out in the link in the description so this way you can get a 1,000 yen coupon for your first time use. Kaiju, Dragon Ball, Pokemon, and more. It's Steven's Toy Reviews. Hey there collectors, it's Steven here, and I am pleased to bring you this review of a figure I have been having my eye on for a while, and quite frankly, I really enjoy it. It's very pleasing to look at. Today we're going to be taking a look at a very limited figure. We're going to be taking a look at the Figma Gridman Initial Fighter. So this is rather interesting because this was bundled with a home media release for the ssss. Okay, I counted that correctly. A Gridman release in Japan. And it was not a standard release. So if you did not get your order in for that, then hey, you have to buy this on the aftermarket. And that's rather intimidating. So how are you going to get this? Well, if you know what to do, you know that you can check out some proxy service. And I'm thinking specifically Bai. That's how I got a hold of this. And you can check them out, search like Yahoo Japan Auctions, and you can find this, and you can order it for not an astronomical price, right? Yeah, okay, so if you see it, you like it, you want to do it, go ahead and get it. So with that in mind, that you can obtain this for a reasonable price, and it's not super intimidating because they are out there, don't think of this as sort of an unobtainable figure. Let's stop the chit-chat and take a look to see whether or not the Initial Fighter Gridman is worth adding into your collection. I really do like the color scheme of this version of Gridman, and to be honest, I do have to say compared to the normal one, yeah, I don't know, I kind of wish they stuck with this, gotta be honest here, folks. But taking a look at the figure in specific, not only is the color scheme attractive, but if you checked out my normal Gridman Figma review, which if you haven't, I don't know why you haven't. We'll go ahead and throw a card up in the top right-hand corner of the screen if you're watching this on YouTube. You would remember that I unfortunately had some quality control issues with that figure. There were a couple of scrapes, there were a couple of paint bubbles, but here, realistically speaking, aside from some thick paint here and there, maybe an extra line or two in the yellow paint, realistically speaking, there's nothing wrong with this Gridman. Nope. Not too much outside of the standard, which could be just some flash marks here or there from the molding process. Maybe a little bit outside of the lines here or there for some of the panel lining. The gold on the left forearm looks very good. I don't really know what else to say here aside from regarding quality control. He does look pretty dang good. So overall, if you like the Initial Fighter Gridman, well, congrats. This one looks very, very good. The Initial Fighter Gridman's articulation is going to be identical to the normal Gridman's articulation because, well, it's a repaint. So, yep, if you already know how that one moves, then congrats, you know how this is going to move. But let's go ahead and review it. So as you may know, there is a ball joint where the head plugs into the neck, and then that joint is going to be on a swivel hinge combo, so this way we can move Gridman's head around relatively well. One thing I've noticed on this is that if I twist and turn the head from side to side, that joint, that swivel that plugs into the neck sculpt, which we'll take a look at again in a second, that likes to spin. So that can make things a little bit difficult for moving the head forward and back, but just patience. And as you can see, you can get that joint to move back in place. Now, the neck here is actually on a swivel and hinge as well, so we can move it out forward just like that. And we can get twist and turn just a little bit. So this way Gridman can do that. Very awkward, but it is what it is. Now we do have the shoulder pads, which are attached on a ball joint, so this way we can wiggle them around a little bit. And then there's a hinge, so this way we can move them forward and back. And we can expose the actual shoulder joint here, which, as you can see, first and foremost, there's going to be a butterfly hinge, so this way we can move the shoulders forward. And then there's going to be a ball joint, so this way we can spin the arms around. There is a hinge here, which the shoulder pads may or may not block, depending on how you have them, set up. So yes, there is a true dedicated bicep swivel, so that is a peg. It does like to pop off for me, but it's not a big issue since it just pops right back on. Then we do have an elbow hinge. This will actually make it easier to demonstrate the articulation. And since that's going to be a peg, this is kind of cool. The hinge plugs into the forearm at this blue point here. That's going to be sculpt. And that has a little bit of a swivel, right? And then that plugs into the forearm on a peg. So we have another bit of a swivel there as well. So cool. We got lots of swivel movement here. Very, very good. For the wrist, we're going to have a swivel hinge combo there. Very, very standard for newer Figmas and SH Figuarts as well. So very good. So for the ab crunch, it's going to be a ball joint, relatively limited moving forward, but from side to side, it's okay. Back is where it's really going to shine. We do have a ball jointed waist, as you can see here. We have ball jointed hips. So the ball joints will plug into this portion of the sculpt here. We can move them forward and back, out to the side. This portion of the sculpt does, unfortunately, block the articulation a little bit, but c'est la vie. And then that plugs into the thigh, so we get a little swivel here. More ball jointed movement. Very good. Hinge knees, which also feature swivels. Very good. Swivel points plugging into the thigh and the lower portion of the leg. And then for the ankles, we are going to have a swivel hinge combo, hinge forward and back, and then swivel for ankle rockers. So one thing to note, if you do have stuck joints, I do have a tip for you, voila, on how to take care of stuck joints, because those tight joints can result in breakages, which you do not want. So overall, for Gridman here, moves very well. You just got to play with him a little bit, so this way you can get him to move. So as I've touched on a few times by now, you know that this is a repaint of the normal Gridman. And the normal Gridman came with a few accessories, including a nice extra swappable blade for the Gridman caliber. And realistically speaking, aside from that, we get all the same accessories. So we're going to get the normal Gridman caliber. We're going to get that extra attachment part, which actually isn't really extra. That's kind of a part of it. And then we're going to get hands to hold the Gridman caliber, splayed hands, and we are going to get a Figma support stand. So we'll take a look at some pictures of the caliber, which looks good. Nice solar paint apps. We do have the same old theme of the blue there for that extra attachment part that goes on the base of the sword, so that looks good. But what's disappointing is that you can actually still swap out the blade for the angled blade part that comes with the normal Gridman. So why they didn't include it here, I don't know. I honestly feel that that's kind of lazy, but yeah. Yeah, so does he come with all the essentials? Mostly. There's no beam effect, which he should have, but c'est la vie, I suppose. C'est la vie. All right, let's go ahead and move on over to a size comparison so this way you can see how big this one is with some other Gridman figures. So this way you get a reference for sizes here. And yep. Again, it's as big as the normal Gridman, so if you have that and you're looking to add this as a complement to your collection, you know exactly how big it's going to be. Now, let's do a side-by-side comparison with the normal Gridman, so this way you can see maybe where those color differences are, and you can appreciate this variant of a figure. Now, I'm going to go ahead and actually just go ahead and throw up those pictures that I used for my normal Gridman review, just so this way you can get a feel of how those look instead of showing them in the same shot, side by side. So buy now, skip, or wait for a deal. Like I said, if you're able to utilize a proxy service, buy in specific, so this way you're able to get a hold of this for a good price, then by all means, definitely pick it up, because this is a limited edition figure. You're not really going to be able to get a hold of this for too much longer, because as folks collect them, they're not going to want to let them go, and then as the aftermarket price goes up, then you're not really going to want to pay even more for this as time goes by. So if you're a fan of Gridman and you're thinking you want to pick this up, oh yeah, absolutely, it's a good figure. Great. There's nothing really wrong with it aside from maybe being a little light on accessories. So, yep, seal of approval. Well, collectors, that brings us to the end of the video today, and I just wanted to take a second to thank you so much for watching. Now you've heard a lot from me, I'd like to hear a little bit from you. Drop in the comments down below whether or not you liked it, you hated it, or maybe you were somewhere in between. I also want to take an extra second here for a nice, humongous thank you to all the patrons for SDR over the last month who have really helped the channel grow into what it can be today. So to all of you, 2 big thumbs up. Thank you very much. And now the end card should be popping up, which will give you a few clickable links, like maybe to subscribe or head on over to my Patreon, or some short URLs like to my social media or to my Teespring store. There's also a video I hand-selected for you, so if you want to watch another SDR video, I hand-selected some good content for you to watch, so definitely check out that video. Thank you again so much for watching, and I'll catch ya in the next video.